Hey guys, I'm Jordy, and welcome to the guide for your final Shaw Punch card needed for that Tranquil Master title and the final boss of Phase 1 of Mist of Pandaria, the Shaw of Fear.
You will know fear.
Okay, so we've fought Shaw of Anger, Shaw of Violence, Shaw of Doubt, Shaw of Despair, Shaw of Hatred, and the Shaw of Pride. Wait, no, not yet on that one, that's in Siege, but we're now approaching the Shaw of Fear, and man, is this fight... Honestly, it's just okay. I mean, it's cool, but it's long and incredibly frustrating to wipe to this guy sub 10% because it means you've got another 12 to 15 minutes of getting back to that point, which admittedly isn't always the most fun. So listen up to avoid those late fight wipes and get him down quick. So, this is a two-phase fight. The first, you are atop the terrace battling the Shaw, while some of you get tossed over to deal with some Pandarians who have been corrupted at a few different shrines around the area. And then phase 2 at 66% is a no-holds-barred onslaught of, well, it's really just a few mechanics at mostly random times, but, you know, they're all super counterable. As far as raid comp, you'll want 3 tanks at the very least, and you should really consider 4 if your DPS is lacking at all. More on how that works later, but the 4th tank does not need much gear or even really know what they're doing for very long. They just need to hold the boss briefly while your other tanks deal with the shrines and return to pick the boss back up. Also, this fight is kind of unique in that once you've finished phase 1 and entered phase 2, every subsequent phase 1 for the rest of that lockout, you'll be given the buff Lay's Hope that increases your attack and casting speed by 15% while in phase 1. So, once you have that, I really think you can safely drop that 4th tank and just rock the 3, and if worse comes to worse, you can have a DPS tank briefly. More on that shortly. Okay, so we'll split this up in its entirety between phase 1 and phase 2. They don't share any mechanics outside of 1, which conveniently we're gonna mention right now. The Shaw has a thrash mechanic, yes, like thrashes that we've encountered in the game previously, but his are a bit more predictable. Every 4th attack, the Shaw will hit 3 times in a single hit. Now this is a lot of damage, so anyone currently tanking the Shaw will want to make sure to run small to medium defensives to ensure that they don't get one-shot by it. Hand of Sack, Pain Sup, Iron Bark, Vigi, all of the externals you can use as well as your own cooldowns. When that thrash debuff is up, hit something and soak it to avoid dying. Very important. Now in phase 2, he'll thrash as well, but he'll also dread thrash where he will hit 5 times in one attack. But we'll talk about that later. Okay, so on this main platform, you'll notice Lei Shi has provided us with a super handy ring of light just in front of the boss. When any player enters this, they're given the buff Champion of Light, which forces the Shaw to attack that player, but also puts up a big wall of light on either side of this slice of the platform. Now you'll need these walls because every 35 seconds or so, the Shaw will cast Breath of Fear. Now this does a huge amount of damage, but also applies a fear to the player, and if this fear lands without these walls of light up, your raid will instantly wipe. So make sure you always have one player in the light tanking. On the sides of the room, every so often a pair of adds called terror spawns appear. These have a bulwark in front of them that deflect any attacks to their front, similar to the Courages from Will of the Emperor, but they also cast Penetrating Bolt, a shadow mortar that players need to move out of or else they're hit with 138,000 damage or so, and anyone hit by it also gets a shadow damage taken debuff. Now to be honest, these aren't very scary and I recommend you ignore these things almost entirely and just dodge the mortars that they throw and keep pumping damage on the boss, as eliminating these plus dealing with the Shaw and Cackle, which we'll talk about in a second, is just too much. So ignore them, pump the boss, dodge, dodge, dodge. Okay, almost done. The Shaw will do a similar mechanic to the adds and lob Eerie Skull at players. This just does damage, but it can't be dodged, so spread out so you don't splash it. Okay, that's the main platform outside of one more mechanic, Ominous Cackle. The Shaw starts laughing at his own jokes, and the sound really makes you want to get the hell out of there, so 5 players, the current tank, 1 random healer, and 3 random DPS will get chucked to one of the 3 shrines in the back of the room across from the spring. Now there are left, middle, and right shrines. My guild calls them pagodas because I called them that one time and it stuck, but they're shrines, and the goal here is to defeat the corrupted Pandaren at the center of each of these while staying alive and then clicking the orb at the center of the shrine to return to the main platform. When you do click the orb, you're given the buff Fearless, increasing your damage and healing by 60% and movement speed by 120%, while also making you immune to the Shah's various fears for 30 seconds. Okay, but you might be asking, how the hell do I survive these things? So, the Pandarans have 3 abilities. The first and most important is Dread Spray. The Pandaren will raise his ranged weapon and begin turning in seemingly random directions around the room, firing cones of shadow damage. Cones that hurt pretty hard, but on top of that, if you get hit by 2 of them in a single cast of Dread Spray, you'll get feared, and this is bad as you lose control of your character and can wander into another cone of Dread Spray. So yeah, we're looking to avoid taking more than one of these seemingly random cones, but the secret here is that they're not random. Each platform has a different pattern, and it's actually possible to dodge every single one if you are very, very good, but I'd recommend you not bother doing that. There are optimal patterns that you can move into depending on which of the 3 shrines that you're at. Now, this image shows all 3 patterns, but you really don't need to know any of this. What you do need to know is that for the south platform, or the platform to the left of the boss, you begin in the entrance pie slice, then move right 1 slice once you see him cast a cone in that space. Then you just stay there until he's done casting. Easy. For the back platform, or the west one, you start 1 slice left, then move right into the entrance slice, and once he's done, you run back to the original position. And finally, for the north platform, you start 1 slice to the left of the entrance, then once the entire slice has been shot at, you move right 1 slice into the entrance, and you just hang out until he's done. Now look, I get it, all of that was a lot, even simplified, so fortunately, the Foji pack has solved it for you and tells you exactly where to go. So listen to Foji, have him play it for you, and survive. Now 2 of the 3 of these, you're going to take 1 tick of the Dread Spray if you do it correctly. It's very healable, so don't freak out that you're doing it wrong. Just trust Foji. Other than that, he's got 2 more mechanics. First, Shah Globe. These little bastards get tossed out around the Pandarans, and if you don't run over them and collect them like Pac-Man within 8 seconds of them spawning, they heal the Pandaren 8%. But if a player does eat them, they take a small amount of damage, but also gain some amount of their player resource. So very helpful if you're on top of them. So run over all of these, or at least as many of them as you can. We have tanks take the entirety of the back half of the shrines, and the rest of the group takes the front half. Hoover them up and don't let him heal. All right, last thing with these, at 20%, the Pandarans will cast Death Blossom. Now this is a huge AoE spell that you need to line of sight to survive unless you're a beefy tank with huge CDs, and it might be a good idea as a tank to pop a cooldown like Diffuse Magic and soak it while picking up whatever orbs that you can on the field, because everybody else will be unable to grab them while Death Blossom is up outside of you, so channel your inner Pac-Man and nom nom nom. Alright, some big tips for these shrines are to make sure all of your DPS and healers use big defensives here. It's unacceptable for anyone to die on these platforms. There are so many cooldowns that you can use for every Dread Spray, so we like to deputize one of the 5 people on these platforms as a mini raid leader. They can call cooldowns, they can tell people what the plan is for each Dread Spray ahead of time, stuff like that. Okay, the Pandarans die, we take the orb back to the main platform, and the tank should quickly rush to the Circle of Light because another group will likely be flying off to a shrine. The active tank in the light needs to watch the timer and communicate to the DPS if they need someone to soak the tank spot. You cannot let this boss go without an active tank, as he'll cast Reaching Attack and one-shot people somewhere in the raid, so watch the cackle timer, look at your raid frames, figure out if you need people to tank for a bit. Good options are rogues, hunters, even a warrior with Die by the Sword and Shield Wall. Just tank until the tank from the shrines returns and keep up the pump. Okay, at 66%, the boss phases and everybody gets teleported into the Dread Expanse, a watery, featureless void that the Shah is looking to make your final resting place. However, and I'm being totally serious here, this phase is easier of the 2, and also one of the easier sections of the raid as a whole. Before we move into phase 2, At the transition, the raid gets a huge boost in that all of your raid cooldowns are reset and everybody gets a buff refilling HP and mana. So burn everything you've got just before the transition because you might as well. Okay, phase 2. The only thing that maintains from the first is Thrash, and like I mentioned previously, he adds Dread Thrash. Every 16 attacks where a Thrash would have normally been, he now will attack with Dread Thrash, doing 5 attacks at once. This will kill your tank unless he's got big cooldowns up to survive it. Things like Shield Wall and a minor cooldown. So plan ahead for these and know who's going to soak them. Also, tanks. He has one more tank-specific thing that you need to worry about: Naked and Afraid.
So Shane's super thirsty, and he asked me if he could pee into the lid, and I was super confused, but he is gonna drink from the lid. Have you ever drank your own pee before?
By accident.
He pees into the cover, drinks everything he's got, and that was his first sip of water on Naked and Afraid.
No, not that one. Your fear overtakes you and the Shah strips you of your clothes, leaving you defenseless for 45 seconds. Tanks, you need to taunt as soon as you see another tank eat this, as it's unlikely to survive even a single melee attack with this up, so know when it's coming and watch your timer. Alright, so other than that, the rest of the raid is dealing with some rather easy mechanics that are complicated in that it's random, which he does. All the while juggling a ball of light to distract a bunch of evil monsters that acts like a laser pointer for cats. Upon reaching phase 2, whoever the champion of the light was on the transition, 99% of the time it'll be one of your tanks, will get the debuff Champion of Light. Now this infuses them with the light from before, granting them immunity to fear and horror effects and reducing the damage that they take by 30%, but also rendering them unable to move. To remove this, you'll look to use your extra action button, throwing the ball to another player like an ultimate frisbee, rendering them unable to move but giving you free reign. Now we use this in a couple ways. First, every so often the boss will cast Submerge, dipping beneath the waters and then telegraphing in a cloud where he's going to pop up. If you stand in this, you'll get one shot without a cooldown, but also when he does this, he'll summon Dread Spawn. Now these are fast moving ads that can be slowed and will rush from the very edges of the room toward whoever currently has the light in an attempt to extinguish it. So the goal here is to play keep away from these guys, throwing the ball from one player to another in an attempt to group them up, all the while cleaving them down and the boss, ideally finishing one wave before another has arrived so as not to get overwhelmed. Now every time you cast Submerge, one additional Dread Spawn is included in the wave. So if he's cast it 6 times, you're looking at 6 Dread Spawn per wave, and so on. Now upon arriving in the Dread Expanse the first time, you'll want to look for the very center of the area and put a world marker down. Now how can you tell where it is in this godforsaken place? Well, the minimap. If you zoom all the way out on it, you can see a faint circle. Use that to find the center, drop the world marker, and attempt to have your raid set up around it with your 3 ball throwers in a triangle around it. Now we do this because it helps group up the ads as they spawn separately all around the room, and if we're all in the center, they will generally arrive at the same time, making it easier to finish the wave. Now a small added complication is that every time the ball is thrown, the Dread Spawn get pissed and fire off a volley of Shah spines at the raid. Now this only hits for about 35,000 damage a player for every Dread Spawn that's alive, but late into the fight, you might have a lot of these guys up, so it can be quite dangerous if you throw the ball a lot very quickly. Now last thing, if an ad does hit one of your ball throwers and kill them, they'll just start mowing through people. So someone should quickly recognize this and right-click the light to pick it up and throw it as far as they can to keep them distracted. Wipes can be prevented this way if you act quickly. Okay, other than that, there are 3 mechanics to think about, of which he'll pick from randomly until all 3 have been cast, then he submerges and the cycle repeats. Now the first, Implacable Strike. He winds up a big cone attack, so tanks just make sure that you face him away from the raid and move out of it. Now try to avoid moving him too much when he does this, but it should be super easy to dodge. The next and most annoying is Water Spout. The Shaw will summon jets of water underneath players, similar to the cosmic smashes on Algalon for those that did that. They're little blue circles, and after a couple seconds will spout up water. Just make sure you move away from where you or another player was standing, or you'll eat a bunch of damage, so watch them. Now they also splash about 2 yards out, so be clear away to avoid it. Finally, and most importantly,
Huddle in terror.
Now on 25-man, the Shaw of Fear will pick 5 players and scare the ever-living shit out of them, to the point where you'll lose control of your character and cower in fear. Now while you have this debuff, you'll take 90,000 damage per second for 12 seconds, for a total of just over 1 million damage. Now this can pick any player outside of the tanks, even all of your healers at once. Yes, we've seen it happen, and the only way to solve this is by throwing the ball to anyone afflicted by the huddle. So, when a huddle goes out, one of your ball throwers should throw the ball to a person with the debuff, prioritizing any healers, and then that person regains control of their character and should then throw the ball to another player quickly before the adds can come over and melee them. Now, the huddle can actually be completely removed in less than a second with a few tools if done correctly. First, this macro. Keybind it somewhere that you'll remember, and then mouse over a person with huddle and spam the hell out of your keyboard, because the very millisecond you get the ball and get control of your character, you'll just immediately throw it to the player that you selected. It also targets the target that you were targeting. And this is key, make sure that you're not targeting the player you're supposed to throw to. As with the target last target, it kind of breaks the macro, so just mouse over the player, spam, 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 and clear it. If you're having issue with this macro, just remove that last line and it should work. Now the second tool is, yeah, you guessed it, the Foji Raid Pack. With this, Foji does the thinking for you and assigns you a number in ascending order. Healers are prioritized low numbers. When Huddle player 1 gets the ball, they're supposed to throw to player 2, and that player shines big, bright, and yellow on the frame so you know who to throw it to quickly. This highlight shows the second you get Huddle. So before the ball's even at you, spam your key with your mouse over on the person that you're supposed to, and boom. All 5 players can do this, and the ball gets tossed around super fast. You'll be clear to the huddle in a split second and can resume the fight. Now player 5, you need to know to throw the ball back to the ball thrower. Those players will only light up green if you set up the orb throwers ahead of time in his separate raid lead week aura. Write their names in accurately, and that 5th player will get a green frame to throw to any of those 3 and can go on their way. Now this isn't necessary, but it does help. Now, breaking the huddle does mean the Shaw spines will come in fast and furious, especially later in the phase when there are lots of adds up, so you want to make sure you have the raid damage mitigation cooldowns rolling for these. And this is where the raid position helps a lot. So stack on the boss's back and use Barrier, Devo Aura, AMZ, Smoke Bomb, any of the things that we're using to reduce raid damage to help with that, as well as the damage that goes out on the players from the huddle itself. Okay, that's Huddle. And really that's all of the mechanics on this beast of a fight. He'll go through each of those 3, then cast Submerge, and then back to one of the 3 cycling through them, and all before another Submerge. And then other than that, the fight doesn't change outside of the number of adds you get per wave. And for the last time in phase 1, if you manage to fight your fears, dodge dread sprays, submerges, cleared those huddles, and took down the massive health pool that is the Shaw of Fear, down he goes, and so too does phase 1 of Missing Pandaria. 2 million. 1 million!
Come on,
Methodium!
Just dodge.
Methodium!
No, it's good. It's good.
Yes!
Let's go, baby.
God, gamer.
Holy shit.
We got the kill.
And unfortunately, this is already super long, so some quick tips. Tanks, you can Zen med the Thrash, it looks like, since they're all in the same millisecond, so you should be able to soak some of them. Very helpful. Healers, use those raid cooldowns on the platforms, and remember to blow all of your mana in cooldowns before the transition because they reset and you get full mana. And DPS, please use damage mitigation cooldowns on the platforms. Don't die to the breath. And in phase 2, make sure you watch your feet. Some of you will die to water spout, and really it's not okay, so just move. Also, if in phase 1 the boss is around 70% and you get sent to a shrine, just hide behind a pillar and don't engage the Pandaren. You won't have time to kill it before the phase, so you might as well just wait it out. Okay, well that is it for phase 1 of Mists of Pandaria. Now, the 15 boss guides I've completed for this phase, good lord, that's a lot, were super fun to make, and thank you for sticking with me. I know a few of these were late, this one especially, and I am committed to prevent that for Throne of Thunder, so I am starting the guides right now. Yes, really, as well as, and you heard it here first, a series of shorter guides and a full suite of shortened 10-man guides for the entire tier. Yes, I am doing it. I've got a couple people I'm looking to work with to help edit them, so we're going to get them out for those that have been clamoring for them. And Throne of Thunder is already looking to be the best raid ever. It's massive, holy hell, 13 bosses, lots of trash, and lots of opportunities for min-maxing, and I am all over it. So make sure to subscribe if you want to see those soon. Yes, soon, and thank you again for all of your support. Also, I'm trying to figure out what the series of boss guides are going to be called. Jordy's Throne of Thunder guides does not have a very good ring to it, so if you have any options, hit me with them in the comments. Okay, we are done. Phase 1, it has been fun. Peace out, and as the Pandaren often say, White Tiger, watch over you.
I am Lei Shen, slayer of kings and gods. You have made a grave mistake.